This dog runs into a police station with her puppies totally out of breath. At first, everyone's confused, but then they figure out why she's there, and it's way worse than anyone imagined. What happens next? You've got to hear this and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. The quiet hum of the morning filled the small town police station. Officer Ryan sat at his desk, flipping through paperwork while the faint chatter of his colleagues echoed in the background. It was just another uneventful day until the door swung open with a loud creak. At first, no one paid much attention. People often wandered in with lost items or minor complaints, but this time was different. A scruffy, mud-covered dog bounded into the station, panting heavily. It wasn't just any dog. It was a golden retriever, its fur matted and wet, eyes wide, with urgency. And clamped gently in its mouth was a tiny, squirming puppy. Ryan looked up from his desk, startled. What the? Before anyone could react, the dog bolted toward the center of the room, carefully placing the puppy on the floor. Then it turned and ran back out the door, leaving the puppy yelping softly. The officers exchanged confused glances. "What's going on?" one of them muttered. Ryan stood, his curiosity piqued. He approached the trembling puppy, its tiny body barely larger than his hand. It let out a faint whimper, its eyes half closed. "Hey, little guy," he said softly, kneeling down. "Where's your mom?" As if in response, the dog burst back through the door, this time carrying a second puppy. It placed the second pup next to the first, then ran out again without hesitation. The room fell silent. Officers stopped what they were doing, their attention now fully on the dog. Ryan's brow furrowed. Something's not right. By the time the dog returned with a third puppy, it was clear this wasn't just a coincidence. The retriever's frantic pace, the puppy's tiny, fragile state. Something was very wrong. The dog's ribs were visible beneath its muddy coat, and its movements were shaky, as if exhaustion was catching up to it. Ryan gently scooped up the first two puppies, cradling them in his arms. "Someone grab a blanket," he called out, his voice firm but calm. "And water. This dog's been through something." Officer Linda hurried over with a soft blanket, spreading it on the floor. Ryan placed the puppies on it carefully, watching as the dog returned yet again, this time slower, its breaths labored. It carried a fourth and final puppy, laying it down next to its siblings before collapsing onto the floor too, weak to move further. The officers gathered around, their faces a mixture of concern and awe. "Where did she come from?" Linda asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Ryan knelt beside the dog, stroking its head gently. "I don't know," he said, his voice tight. "But whatever she's been through, she brought her pups here for a reason." The golden retriever looked up at him, its tired eyes filled with something Ryan couldn't quite describe. Gratitude, desperation, whatever it was, it struck a chord deep in his chest. The station, once bustling with noise, was now quiet. Everyone seemed to understand the weight of what was happening. A mother dog, against all odds, had chosen this place, this safe haven for her pups. But why? And what had driven her to risk everything to get here? Ryan glanced at his colleagues. "We need to figure this out," he said firmly. "But first, let's make sure they're okay." As he gently checked the puppies for injuries, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of a much bigger story. The golden retriever lay on the blanket, its sides heaving with each labored breath. Ryan gently placed a bowl of water near her, speaking softly. "Here you go, girl. You've done enough. Rest now." The dog lifted her head weakly, her tongue flicking out to lap at the water. Her eyes darted toward her puppies, who were snuggling together, letting out faint whimpers. The officers around them exchanged glances, the weight of the situation sinking in. Ryan stood up and turned to Officer Linda. "We need to call animal control or a vet," he said. "These pups are tiny and she's exhausted. They need care." Linda nodded, already pulling out her phone. On it. As Linda stepped away to make the call, Ryan knelt beside the dog again. He ran his hand gently over her muddy fur, noting the scratches on her legs and the burrs tangled in her coat. She'd clearly been through something rough. "Where did you come from, huh?" he murmured. "What happened out there?" The dog didn't respond, of course, but her eyes seemed to say more than words ever could. She looked at Ryan with a mixture of exhaustion and trust, as if she knew she'd made the right choice by bringing her pups here. Meanwhile, the rest of the station was abuzz with quiet conversation. Officers speculated about the dog's backstory, each theory more dramatic than the last. "Maybe she escaped from a bad owner," one officer suggested. "Or she's a stray who found her way here," another added. "Whatever it is," Linda said, walking back into the room. "The vet's on the way." "They said they'll be here in 20 minutes. Ryan nodded, relieved. But as he looked back at the mother dog, a new question gnawed at him. Why had she come here specifically? There were plenty of other places she could have gone. Shelters, homes, even the nearby park. But she'd chosen the police station. It didn't make sense. Suddenly, the dog lifted her head and let out a low, guttural whine. Her ears perked up, and she looked toward the door, her body tensing. "What is it, girl?" Ryan asked, his voice calm but alert. The dog tried to stand, her legs wobbling beneath. Ryan gently held her down. "Hey, take it easy, you're safe now," but she wouldn't settle. Her eyes stayed fixed on the door, and her breathing quickened. It was as if she was trying to warn them about something. The officers glanced at each other, unease creeping into the room. "You think someone's out there?" Linda asked. Ryan's jaw tightened. "I don't know, but something spooked her." He stood and walked toward the station's entrance, his hand resting instinctively on the holster at his side. He opened the door slowly and stepped outside. The street was quiet, the usual hum of small-town life carrying on as normal. But as Ryan scanned the area, he noticed something unusual. Far down the road, near the edge of the woods, a black truck was parked, its engine idling. The windows were tinted, and the vehicle didn't belong to anyone in town that Ryan recognized. His instincts kicked in. This wasn't just a random occurrence. The dog's desperation, the puppies, the scratches, and exhaustion, it all pointed to something more sinister. Ryan turned and walked back into the station, his mind racing. "There's a truck parked near the woods," he said to Linda. "Doesn't look familiar. I think she might have been running from something. Or someone." The officers exchanged uneasy glances. "You think she was being chased?" Linda asked. Ryan nodded. "It's possible. And if that's the case, whoever was after her might still be out there." He looked at the dog, who had finally settled but kept glancing nervously toward the door. Ryan clenched his fists. She hadn't just come here for help. She'd come here to escape. And now it was up to him to figure out why. The golden retriever rested on the blanket, her breathing steady but her eyes still darting nervously toward the door. The puppies, unaware of the tension, huddled together in a warm pile, occasionally letting out soft whimpers. Ryan's mind raced. The black truck by the woods didn't sit right with him. This dog hadn't just wandered into the station by chance. She'd been running, maybe even being pursued. But why, and who would chase a mother dog and her puppies? Linda walked over to him, lowering her voice. "I checked with dispatch, no reports of a lost dog matching her description. But get this, there was a call about suspicious activity near the woods this morning. A man was seen loading something into the back of a truck." Ryan's jaw tightened. "Let me guess, black truck?" Linda nodded. "Sounds like it." The caller didn't stay on the line, though, no details. Ryan glanced at the dog again. Her fur was caked with dirt, her ribs faintly visible beneath her coat. She wasn't just a stray. Someone had neglected her, or worse. Just then, the station door creaked open. Dr. Patel, the town's veterinarian, stepped in, carrying a medical kit. Her warm, calm demeanor immediately put the room at ease. "I hear you've got some special patients for me," she said, her eyes falling on the dog and her puppies. Ryan led her over. She brought them in herself. "We've done what we could, but they're in rough shape." Dr. Patel knelt beside the dog, her touch gentle as she examined the mother and her pups. "She's dehydrated and exhausted, but no major injuries. The puppies are malnourished, but seem okay for now. She's been doing her best to keep them alive." As Dr. Patel worked, the dog seemed to relax, her eyes softening as if she understood she was finally in good hands. The puppies snuggled closer, their tiny bodies seeking warmth. Ryan couldn't help but smile. "You're a fighter, aren't you, girl?" Dr. Patel finished her exam and stood. "She's resilient, but she's been through something traumatic. Whatever it was, it took a toll." Before Ryan could respond, the dog let out a low growl, her body tensing again. Her gaze was fixed on the door, ears perked and teeth bared slightly. The officers froze. Ryan turned to Linda. "Keep an eye on her. I'm going to check that truck." Linda grabbed his arm. "Ryan, be careful. If someone's after her, they might not." "Back down easily." He nodded and headed out, his heart pounding. The parking lot was empty except for the officers' cars, but the black truck was still there, parked just at the edge of the woods. Its engine had stopped running, and the silence around it felt heavy. Ryan approached cautiously, his hand resting on his holster. As he got closer, he noticed faint scratches along the side of the truck, as if something or someone had tried to claw their way out. His gut tightened. Peering into the truck bed, he saw ropes and a dirty blanket, both smeared with mud and what looked like faint traces of blood. A sinking feeling settled in his chest. This wasn't just a coincidence. Whoever owned this truck had been involved in something cruel. Ryan scanned the area, his eyes narrowing as he spotted footprints leading from the truck into the woods. He turned back toward the station and radioed Linda. "Call it in, we've got a situation." As he returned to the station, the dog's growls grew louder, her body rigid with fear. Ryan crouched in front of her, speaking softly. "It's okay. We're going to keep you safe." But as he looked into her eyes, he realized she wasn't just scared. She was trying to tell him something. The growls weren't just a warning, they were a plea. Someone was coming, and they weren't here to help. The station seemed to hold its breath as Ryan stepped back inside, his face set with determination. The golden retriever, sensing his return, stopped growling, but remained tense, her gaze fixed on him as though waiting for answers. The puppies stirred at the sound of his footsteps, their tiny bodies shifting against one another. Linda approached, worry etched across her face. "What did you find?" Ryan kept his voice low, glancing at the dog. "The truck's tied to this. There are ropes in the back and what looks like blood. Whoever owns it isn't here by accident." Linda's expression darkened. "Dispatch is sending backup, but it could take time." Ryan looked toward the door, his instincts on high alert. "We might not have that time. The footprints near the truck lead into the woods. They could be watching us right now." As if on cue, the dog let out a sharp bark, her body rigid. Her eyes darted toward the windows and a low growl rumbled in her chest. The officers exchanged uneasy glances, the tension in the room palpable. Dr. Patel, still crouched beside the puppies, looked up. "If someone's after her, they're not going to stop. We need to get her and these pups to safety." Ryan nodded, his mind racing. "We can't wait for backup. Linda, get the station's SUV ready. We'll move her to the vet's clinic. It's closer and secure." Linda hesitated. "And what about the truck's owner? What if they try to stop us?" Ryan's jaw tightened. "Then we deal with them. But these animals aren't staying here. Vulnerable." As Linda hurried to prepare the vehicle, Ryan knelt beside the dog. "We're getting you out of here, girl," he said softly. "But I need you to trust me. We're going to keep you and your pups safe." The golden retriever looked at him, her body still trembling, but her eyes steady. It was as if she understood every word. Suddenly, a loud thud echoed from outside the station, followed by the faint sound of footsteps. Ryan shot to his feet, his hand instinctively going to his holster. "Stay with them," he said to Dr. Patel, motioning toward the dog and her puppies. He and another officer, Carl, moved toward the door, their movements swift and controlled. Ryan pushed the door open cautiously and stepped outside. The black truck was still there, but now a man stood near it, his face obscured by a baseball cap. He was tall, with a rough, unkempt appearance, and his hands were shoved into his jacket pockets. "Can I help you?" Ryan called out, his voice steady but firm. The man didn't answer right away. Instead, he took a step closer, his movement slow and deliberate. "I'm just here for what's mine," he said finally, his voice low and gruff. Ryan's chest tightened. And what exactly would that be? The man tilted his head slightly, his expression unreadable. "The dog. She belongs to me." Ryan's jaw clenched. "If she belonged to you, she wouldn't be here in the state she's in. She came to us for help." The man's eyes darkened. "That's none of your business. Just hand her over and I'll be on my way." Ryan stepped forward, blocking his path. "That's not going to happen. Turn around and leave. Now." For a moment, the man didn't move. Then he smiled, a cold, menacing grin that sent a chill down Ryan's spine. "You don't understand," he said. "You're making a mistake." Before Ryan could respond, he saw movement out of the corner of his eye. Another man emerged from the woods, carrying a metal crowbar. Ryan's hand went to his holster, his voice sharp. "Stop, where you are." The second man froze, but the tension in the air was electric. Inside the station, the dog barked again, the sound sharp and frantic. Linda appeared behind Ryan, her voice urgent. "The SUV's ready." Ryan didn't take his eyes off. "The men. Good, get the dog and the pups loaded now." Linda hesitated, then rushed back inside. Ryan kept his stance firm, his hand hovering over his weapon. "This is your last chance," he said to the men. "Turn around and walk away." The first man took a step closer, his grin widening. "You really think you can stop us?" Ryan didn't flinch. "Try me." Inside the station, Linda and Dr. Patel worked quickly, wrapping the puppies in a blanket and helping the golden retriever to her feet. The dog, though weak, moved with purpose, as if she knew this was her chance. As the officers outside stood their ground, the dog and her puppies were carefully loaded into the SUV. Ryan glanced over his shoulder, making sure they were secure, before turning back to the men. "You've got what you want to say," Ryan said coldly. "Now leave and don't come back." The two men exchanged glances before stepping back toward the truck. Their expressions were dark, their retreat slow and deliberate, as if to send a message. But Ryan didn't lower his guard until they disappeared into the woods. He rushed back to the SUV, his pulse still racing. "Drive," he said to Linda. "Don't stop for anything." As the SUV pulled away, Ryan watched it disappear down the road, carrying the dog and her puppies to safety. But the unease in his chest didn't fade. This wasn't over. Not yet. The SUV sped down the quiet country road, carrying the golden retriever and her puppies toward safety. Linda gripped the steering wheel tightly, her eyes darting between the road ahead and the rearview mirror. In the back seat, Dr. Patel sat with the mother dog resting her head on her lap, the puppies bundled together in a blanket beside her. "It's okay, girl," Dr. Patel whispered, stroking the dog's matted fur. "You're safe now." The golden retriever's eyes fluttered shut, her body finally relaxing after what must have been days of fear and exhaustion. The puppies stirred occasionally but stayed nestled together, comforted by their mother's presence. Back at the station, Ryan watched as the taillights of the SUV disappeared into the distance. His jaw tightened as he turned to Officer Carl. "Keep an eye on the perimeter," he ordered. "Those men won't give up that easily." Carl nodded, moving toward the station's entrance to keep watch. Ryan, however, wasn't willing to just sit and wait. He picked up his radio and called dispatch. "We need backup to search the woods near the station," he said firmly. "There's evidence of illegal activity tied to that truck." "Understood," came the response. "Units are on their way." Ryan hung up and began pacing. His gut told him this was about more than just a dog. The truck, the ropes, the blood, it all pointed to something darker. These men weren't just neglectful pet owners, they were hiding something. Meanwhile, in the SUV, Linda glanced at Dr. Patel. "Do you think they'll try to follow us?" Dr. Patel shook her head. "I don't know, but we need to get her to the clinic quickly. She's weak, and the pups need proper care." As the SUV approached the vet clinic, Linda slowed down, scanning the area. For any sign of the men or their truck, the coast seemed clear, but her grip on the wheel didn't loosen until they pulled into the parking lot. Inside the clinic, Dr. Patel worked swiftly, examining the golden retriever and her puppies. The mother's body was covered in scratches and bruises, her paws raw from running. The puppies were underweight but otherwise unharmed. "She's been through a lot," Dr. Patel said softly, looking at Linda. "But she'll recover, they all will." Linda nodded, relief washing over her. "Good. Now we just have to make sure those men don't come looking for her." Back at the station, Ryan reviewed the evidence he'd found in the truck. The ropes, the bloodstains, and the scratches told a story he didn't want to believe. His thoughts were interrupted by Carl, who burst into the room, his face pale. "Ryan," Carl said, his voice urgent. "The truck's gone." Ryan's head snapped up. "What?" "They must have doubled back," Carl said. "I checked the cameras. They left a few minutes after the SUV did, heading the same direction." Ryan grabbed his radio. "Linda, it's Ryan. Do you copy?" There was a pause before Linda's voice crackled through. "I hear you. They're heading your way," Ryan said, his tone sharp. "You need to get out of there now. In the clinic." Linda's face blanched as she heard Ryan's warning. "Dr. Patel, we need to move her." Dr. Patel didn't hesitate. She grabbed a transport crate and began gently placing the puppies inside, while Linda helped the golden retriever to her feet. The dog wobbled but managed to stand, her maternal instincts overriding her exhaustion. Outside, the distant rumble of an engine grew louder. Linda's heart pounded as she peeked out the window. The black truck was coming up the road, fast. "There. Here," Linda said, her voice trembling. "We need to go now." Dr. Patel secured the crate with the puppies in the back of her car and helped the mother dog climb in beside it. Linda jumped into the driver's seat and started the engine just as the truck pulled into the lot. The black truck's doors swung open, and the same man from earlier stepped out, his face twisted with anger. "You can't take what's mine," he shouted, moving toward the car. Linda didn't wait. She hit the gas, tires screeching as the car sped out of the parking lot. The truck's engine roared to life behind them, giving chase. In the rearview mirror, Linda saw the truck gaining on them. Her hands gripped the wheel, her mind racing. "Hang on," she muttered, her foot pressing harder on the accelerator. Dr. Patel clutched the crate tightly, her eyes wide. The golden retriever let out a low growl, her protective instincts flaring. Even in her weakened state, the chase was on and Linda knew she had to outrun them. But as the truck drew closer, she realized they were running out of options. Linda's knuckles turned white as she gripped the steering wheel, the truck closing the gap behind her. The narrow road twisted ahead, flanked by dense woods. "Hold on," she shouted to Dr. Patel, who was cradling the crate of puppies in the back seat, the golden retriever panting heavily beside her. The truck's engine roared louder as it pulled up alongside them, the driver leaning out of the window. "Pull over," he shouted, his face twisted with fury. Linda clenched her jaw, ignoring him, her foot pressing harder on the gas. Ahead, the road forked. Linda veered left toward an open field, hoping to throw them off. The truck hesitated for a moment before following, its tires skidding on the dirt path. "They're not giving up," Dr. Patel said, her voice tight with fear. Linda glanced at the rearview mirror. "They won't get what they're after, not today." The golden retriever let out a low growl, her eyes fixed on the truck as if she understood the danger. Despite her exhaustion, she moved to shield the crate with her body, her protective instincts stronger than ever. The truck suddenly lurched forward, ramming into the back of Linda's car. The impact sent the vehicle swerving, but Linda steadied. Her hands firm on the wheel. "Come on, girl," she muttered, urging the car forward just a little farther. In the distance, flashing red and blue lights appeared. Backup had arrived. The truck's driver saw the police cars and slammed on the brakes, skidding to a stop. 2 patrol cars blocked the road and officers jumped out, weapons drawn. Ryan was among them, his face set with determination. Out of the truck he shouted, his voice booming across the field. The driver hesitated before stepping out, his hands raised. His accomplice followed, muttering curses under his breath. The officers moved quickly, handcuffing both men while Ryan approached Linda's car. Linda stepped out, her legs shaking as the adrenaline coursed through her. "You have no idea how glad I am to see you," she said, her voice trembling. Ryan gave her a reassuring nod before peering into the back seat. The golden retriever lifted, her head, her eyes meeting his. Despite her exhaustion, there was a flicker of relief in her gaze. "You did good, girl," Ryan said softly. He turned to Dr. Patel, who was still holding the crate. "Are they okay?" Dr. Patel nodded. "They'll need care, but they're going to make it, thanks to her and you." Ryan stepped back, watching as other officers secured the scene. The two men were being loaded into the back of a patrol car, their faces sullen. What were they after? "Linda." Ryan's expression darkened. They were running an illegal dog-fighting ring. She must have escaped with her puppies when they tried to force her back. She ran here because she had nowhere else to go. Linda's stomach churned, and she trusted. Ryan nodded because she knew she had no choice. Dr. Patel looked at the golden retriever, tears in her eyes. "She's not just brave, she's extraordinary. She risked everything to save her pups." Ryan crouched beside the dog, gently stroking her head. "You're safe now. No one's going to hurt you or your babies ever again." The golden retriever let out a soft whine, her eyes closing as if she finally felt safe enough to rest. In the days that followed, the story spread quickly. The golden retriever, now named Hope, became a symbol of resilience and courage. Her puppies were placed in loving homes, and Hope was adopted by none other than Officer Ryan, who promised to give her the life she deserved. The illegal dogfighting ring was dismantled, and the two men faced justice for their crimes. The town rallied together, raising awareness about animal cruelty and the importance of compassion. At the station, Hope became something of a mascot. She greeted visitors with her wagging tail and watched over the officers like they were her own pups. Her story inspired everyone who heard it, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, bravery and kindness could create a brighter future.